Okay, so good evening. This is a Scituate Conservation Commission meeting. This meeting is being held remotely as an alternative means of public access pursuant to the orders issued by the Governor of Massachusetts dated March 12, 2020, superseding certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Scituate in accordance with the open meeting law. If you have any questions during the meeting, there'll be a question and answer period followed each public hearing, and abutters will have or interested parties will have the ability to raise their hand. And we just request that anybody keep their comments to less than 3 minutes. Thank you. I also just want to point out with this windstorm tonight, if we should lose power and lose sufficient members for quorum, then we're just going to have to continue the meeting where we left off, and that time and date will have to get posted. So, there's any additions or changes to the agenda?
Yeah, actually the meeting's going, so yeah, I gotta cut and get online. So, all right, well, we'll talk more about it.
Okay, no changes or additions.
Motion, we accept the agenda as written.
A second on that?
Second.
Jen Foley, second. All in favor? Richard? Do we have Richard on?
Yeah, Rich is on. He's speaking, but we can't hear him.
That's outside.
I'll come back
How
to
about
Richard.
that?
You got ya.
Oh, sorry about that. Yes, I'm good with it.
Thank you. Doug?
Yes.
Penny?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
And Brendan?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we'll start out with number 47 Penfield Road. On November 30th at the 5:15 meeting, the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetland hearing under Chapter 131, Section 4 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Douglas Gulch for septic work and after the fact replacement of a deck in a single family dwelling located at 47 Penfield Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Who do we have for that?
We have
Collins.
Engineering.
Oh, can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
How are you? Okay.
How are you?
Perfect. If you want to play the plan just like that, I can walk us through it quick.
Okay.
All right. For the record, I'm Peter Lyons with Collins Civil Engineering, representing the property owner. This is a conservation filing for a 4-bedroom septic repair on a house that's being redone. Additionally, with the septic project, we're considering what we consider an after-the-fact mention of decks that were installed recently within the buffer zone to the wetland. So our project basically consists of replacing the existing septic tanks and leaching pit in the rear of the property and installing 2 new tanks and pumping the effluent up and around the house to a leaching field in the front of the property. We do have BVW shown as flags 1 through 16 as identified by Brooke Monroe, a botanist, that basically pretty much parallels the property lines. So we're left with a sliver or a small triangle in the front outside of the 50 that we are able to site the field in. The tanks are required to be out back due to the site topography and the existing plumbing. Minimal grade change associated with the tanks in the back of the project, and a little bit of vegetation removal in the area of the tanks. No major trees, but some brush. Doesn't look like we're anticipating any tree removal in the front yard. Also very little, almost negligible change in grade in the front. All going to be going back to existing loam and seeded condition. We have proposed erosion control around the entirety of the project, being a straw wattle. Up in the front yard, we also show a dewatering pit location as well as a soil stockpile area. Let's see, that's pretty much the quick overview on this one. If the commission has any questions or concerns, I'll answer them now. I would like to note that this has been approved by Board of Health. So that's something I think you guys are usually curious about. So it has been approved. Any questions?
Great, thank you. Richard?
All right, can you come back to me in a little bit?
Sure.
Thank you.
Doug?
Nope, it's about the only place you can put that system. It looks good. Looks like you have to move the water line to go around there. So, yeah, it's he's got it squeezed in as about as good as you can get, I think. So
Okay.
I no questions.
Thank you. Penny?
No, I love that the leaching field is completely out of the 50. It's great.
Jen?
Yeah, I'm good. I think it's the best place it could be.
And Andy's still not with us, right? Brendan?
I'm good.
Okay. Bouncing back to Richard.
No, I'm good with the septic, but I do have a question about the decks that are after the fact. I mean, where do they come from? What are the dimensions and why are they after the fact?
Oh,
Sure, I can answer that one. Essentially, it was an oversight on the contractor's end that's redoing the house. Months ago, I would say over the summer, probably at some point, and the existing deck was removed from the rear of the house and replaced with two smaller decks.
reduction.
So when we went to do, our inspection and the test holes for the tanks, we noticed that there had been some work done, and just wanted to bring that to the attention of the commission, and incorporate it with the septic filing, just so the commission is aware that at this point the decks are in place. No further construction on those is going to be done. We would just like to note that there's a significant area reduction associated with the decks. The existing was 600 square feet, and the combination of the two new decks is about half of the existing size. The property was in very rough shape, so the decks weren't safe and unsightly. So they were both removed and replaced. Decks on sonotube footings. So that's it. Basically, an oversight on the contractor's end is the long story short. But we wanted to let you aware of it at this time.
Peter, thank you. That explains it. And you anticipated my next question, the footage involved. So thanks a lot.
Yep. And all the footage is noted right on the plan in the bottom with the leaders to the porch. So
Thank you.
okay.
I'm good, Frank.
Thanks, Richard. Amy?
Yeah, so Peter, good job. Board of Health is all set. DEP had no comments, numbers issued. I would say that it's going to be a good improvement, and you guys could probably vote to close an issue.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience for this?
Raise a hand if you want to participate.
Okay. Amy, I'm just wondering if we should include in this order maybe a couple of signposts. I mean, this is what typically happens. I went by this site back when it was for sale, and it was in pretty tough shape. So I don't disagree with that. The house needed a lot of work, but it's a case where someone, I don't even know if they got a building permit, went ahead and rebuilt the decks and didn't come before the commission, and they're well in the buffer zone. You know, that corner of the deck's only 18 feet from the wetland, which probably was as close as it was before, but we have the opportunity now to place a couple of wetlands markers on that property to let the new owner make them aware that there are wetlands there. I think one of them ought to be right off the corner of the deck where it's closest to the wetlands, and then maybe one in the middle of the backyard or something to that effect.
Sounds good. I think we could put that condition in easily.
You know, there's probably lawn there. I'm seeing the trees and stuff, and I think there was a lawn that stretched out. So we picked a couple of spots that seem reasonable for that. It certainly doesn't have to be right up against the house, but there ought to be some markings. All right.
Can I, while we're all together, I mean, can I propose a couple locations based on, you know, what's on the plan right now?
Sure.
I mean, looking at the wetland line, what do you think about doing something at like flag 4?
Yeah.
And how far off of that would you put that, Peter?
I mean, that's kind of open. So, I mean, if we put a marker right at, you know, the wetland limit, I think it would act, you know, to keep people out of there. The question is, does the commission want to see it further? I mean, yeah, we could put it right at the corner of the garage and the driveway, but I mean, is it something they want to deal with seeing every time they come home and park their car? I don't know. I mean, so that's up to the commission to decide, I guess. I mean, I would propose putting them along the existing wetland line,
Yeah.
where that is the tree line. But it's up to you guys ultimately, so whatever you want.
Amy?
I mean, it's a pretty tough site because it's surrounded on 3 sides by wetland. You know, I mean, it wouldn't be allowed to build a house where it is today, clearly. You know, wetland 4 flag could be one location,
6.
wetland 8, wetland 12. Usually we just have a sentence that says at kind of at the discretion of the agent and in the installer.
So roughly at 412.
What about 14? Because it
14,
comes in.
14's good, yeah.
I mean, or 14 rather. So 14, say 12, and 8 or something like that. But I think there should be some, especially if we're going to put them right on the wetlands line. And
Yeah.
okay,
4,
I'm
8,
assuming.
14, that's, so 4.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
8 and 14.
Okay.
All right.
Can I make a motion?
Please.
I make a motion to close an issue.
Do I have a-
47 Penfield.
Do I have a second?
Jen Foley, second.
All in favor? Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
Frank, yes. Great, thank you. All right, number 33 Common Street. On November 30th, 2020, at 5:15 at Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Mass General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Joseph West for installation of a new septic system at single-family dwelling, location 33 Common Street, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. information to access the virtual meeting is available on the agenda and posted on the website. Okay. Good evening.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Gregory Morse. I'm a registered engineer with Morse Engineering. I'm representing the property owner and applicant, Joe West. As just was read into the record, this is a notice of intent to allow for a new septic system at the property located at 33 Common Street. The property is previously developed with a 2-bedroom home. You can see it kind of centrally located on the page of the plan here. The property line is in bold. On the left-hand side of the screen, highlighted in blue, is a bordering vegetated wetland that was delineated by Brad Holmes. Extending off of that is the 50-foot buffer in red and the 100-foot buffer in green. Right now, the house is serviced by a cesspool located in the back of the house. It's inside the 50-foot buffer zone, and the cesspool fails to meet Title V inspections. The proposal here is to install a new septic system. As you see, the site is constrained with respect to the property lines, where the existing house is, and the wetlands. What we've proposed is what we feel is the best feasible location for this septic system. What the system consists of, it consists of what's referred to as a Jet 500 tank, which is an advanced type of septic tank. It's a miniature wastewater treatment plant for a septic tank. And then a drip dispersal leaching field, referred to as a Geoflow leaching field. It's a very technologically advanced system. It requires annual inspections of the septic system. The reason why we went with this is because, as you'll see on the plan here, it is impossible to get the system outside of the 100-foot buffer. It's impossible to get it outside of the 50-foot buffer. The system here is proposed at 8 feet away from the wetlands. It's in an area that's existing lawn surface. It would be restored as lawn surface. It would be a Title V compliant system versus the cesspool that's there now that is in the groundwater table and fails to meet passing criteria. Board of Health needs to review this at one of their meetings, so I would expect to get any comments from the commission tonight, and then to continue it for 2 weeks until after our Board of Health meeting. I turn it over to you.
Thank you. Richard, do you want to jump in on that one?
First of all, I understand why it's so constrained, and I'm not the engineer, so I probably don't understand all the good updated technological stuff, but it looks good from that standpoint. For your information, Greg, it's either 1 week or 3 weeks. It's not two to continue it, but that's it.
Great.
Good otherwise.
Thank you, Richard. Doug?
No, I think I maybe commented on this. I think I've seen another one of these drip line systems that Geoflows come in from Morse this year, and I remember doing these during the pilot program that Title V was letting these things go, and I'm happy to see that they're in general use. They require very little excavation. They're put in a shallow grade, so you don't have to build a big mound or something like that in the backyard. So I can see where there's just a tiny bit of grading that's to be done, and they're dosed, and then the lines themselves drain backwards towards the pump chamber. So if these things are installed properly, they should not hold water there and freeze. And the annual maintenance is another good aspect to them. So my only curiosity, I don't know if Greg can answer this, is and it's just because I did this during the pilot era of installing these, that's the longevity of them. Do you know of some of these systems that have been in for, like, say 10 years or more at this point?
I think as some of the original ones that you were involved in the design, actually, Doug, are still in the ground. I know of about 50 of these systems that have been installed throughout the South Shore. Scituate easily has 20 of these in the ground. The oldest one probably dates back to the late 1990s. They're working out very well.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. No, it's a good solution in tight areas like this, because even though it looks like a big system, if you tried to put in a traditional system, the disruption would be far greater than what you're looking at there. So, no, I think that's a good choice, Greg. So no other question.
Thank you. Penny?
I understand the system. It's a shame everything's in the 50. But what I'm looking at too, you have to put the septic in. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That existing shed is humongous in the 50-foot. Does anybody know how long that's been there, Greg?
I don't know the exact date of it, but if you look at it, it's been there a long time.
Since the 70s?
I bet you it's close. I don't know the exact date. I could certainly get that for the next meeting.
That's just an atrocity in the buffer zone. Okay, thank you.
Jen?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Brendan?
I'm good. Thank you.
Amy?
Yeah, this is another really tough site. Like this house would never, be allowed to be built where it is really today. Are septic upgrades ever put in the driveway, Greg? I mean, because the other thing that complicates this is the Zone A, right? So that's going to be something that Board of Health is going to comment on.
Yeah, so
And
yep. So we do install septic systems in driveways where we can do that. And looking at the plan here, kind of there's a long strip of land off on the right-hand side of the page here that extends out to Common Street. That strip is only about 20 feet wide. That's where the driveway is. It's also where the water service, the electrical service access the property. This type of, you can't drive over this type of septic system. To put in a conventional system in that driveway area would be a mounded system, and it really just was not feasible. I certainly did look at that. That strip is only about 20 feet wide in width, and it just doesn't work with the driveway, with the property lines, and with the utilities there. I try to get them as far from the wetlands as I can. In this case, I just couldn't get it out there.
yeah, and I mean, and so Board of Health is pretty much obligated to approve it in this location, do you think?
I feel that they are obligated to approve it in this case, yes.
Yeah, I mean, and so other than possibly some posts, and I agree, it's a shame the shed is where it is. I mean, you could put a condition, I don't know how enforceable it is, not to let them rebuild the shed or encourage them to try to re-site it, at which someday in the future. But I don't know. I kind of feel like we're in a position where you guys should probably close it. Just given the meeting schedule, I'm not sure.
We lost Amy. Okay. Anybody in the audience, Jen? Maybe Amy will come back in. Anybody in the audience, could they raise their hand? Okay. So Craig, I see where Amy was going with this, and I also appreciate your predicament between setbacks from the property line, the water, the electric, all that sort of thing, and then having to mound it, the driveway would be on a ridge. So it probably makes the most sense. And I think we have to remember that all of these are getting a cesspool, which is also impacting the groundwater, eliminated. So the gain from these systems isn't just that someone gets to sell their house or to have a working system. These are better systems, and it's groundwater separation and what impacts the groundwater. So there's good gains out of all of these improvements, and then hopefully in cases where they can put them further from the wetlands, that's even better. And I think maybe like the last project, if we could look to place, if it's a pretty narrow lot, but maybe a few
Conservation post.
Conservation posts. Thanks, Richard. Somewhere in the back, we can work that out. So the other part was Amy was encouraging us just to go ahead and close this. Do you think that you're going to have any changes from that, Greg, that would be a problem for you?
No, I really don't anticipate any changes to the plan. I know it's typically your policy to wait for the Board of Health. You certainly could approve it and just incorporate any of their approval into your order of conditions. I don't anticipate that this would change in any way, though, as a result of the Board of Health meeting.
Yeah, Greg, we've been trying to since COVID, push these through a little bit, like as efficiently as we can. So we think that the changes, we all collectively think the changes would be minor, this would probably be a good one to just close and not issue, but just at least close it. And then maybe issue it in a couple weeks, and by then hopefully we'll have the final plan in the folder.
I'm
Makes
okay
sense.
with that.
Okay, great.
So I'd make a motion to close pending BOH approval.
Okay, Richard's got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second,
Penny's on the second. All in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Penny,
yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
Frank, yes. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 4, Cliff Estates Road. November 30th, 2020 at 5:15 p.m. in Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts General Laws, and Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws, regarding the application of David and Katrina Drubo. I'll pass on that. For work related to the addition of hardscaping, a single-family dwelling on location at 4 Cliff Estates Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access virtual meetings available on the posted website. So who's got this? Greg?
Yes. Again, for the record, Gregory Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering. This is a notice of intent filed on behalf of the property owner, David and Katrina DeRubo. The property is located at 4 Cliff Estates Road. Looking at the plan here, Cliff Estates Road is at the bottom of the page. The property line is the bold black line around the perimeter. Off the back of the lot, we have a salt marsh, which is highlighted in blue. Extending off of that in red is the 50-foot buffer, and in green, the 100-foot buffer. This site was developed with an existing single-family home. The commission previously reviewed a notice of intent last year, and I believe issued a certificate of compliance for some work along the back of this house. We're here with a new notice of intent, however, though, to add a couple of small additions to the house. Predominantly, the additions are on the front of the house. There are the black lines squaring off kind of the corners and providing an octagonal at the front right corner of the house. Off the back of the house, we're proposing 2 different overhangs. This house is elevated so that the first floor would be an overhang. It wouldn't have any ground bearing, but they are overhanging additions in 2 locations on the back, which are inside the 50-foot buffer zone. And then on the right-hand side of the house, we're proposing a deck, and on the left-hand side of the house, a pervious paver patio. These are areas where there's existing lawn and existing gravel and shell driveway. None of this is natural vegetation area. I turn it over to you for questions or comments.
Okay, thank you. Richard?
Maybe, I
You
guess
can come back to.
yeah, no, I'm guessing I'm seeing the dimensions on these. These are cantilever, I guess for lack of my engineering, they have nothing sticking in the ground, right?
Correct. The ones inside the 50-foot have nothing into the ground for the additions.
Okay, and on the octagonal addition?
Yep. So on the front, for the front porch, the octagonal addition, those would have a concrete frost wall, a 4-foot frost wall into the ground.
And the same on the other corner, Greg?
Yes, same on the additions for the front.
That's good for now, Frank.
Okay, thank you. Doug?
No questions.
Penny?
Yeah, I was just, once again, a question. I can't believe this house was ever built in the 50-foot, because they weren't built that long ago. But anyways, no. I'm okay.
Jen?
Yeah, I think I'm okay. I appreciate going after Richard because I was also struggling to understand the additions on the marsh side. And with regards to the pervious patio, is that anything, or maybe Amy might have, I know there was some discussion at a previous meeting on different materials that were better than others. So just calling that out. That's it.
Okay. Andy's not on yet, right? Brendan?
No, I have nothing new.
Okay. Amy?
Yeah, so this is the second project on this property that we've had within the year. We are issuing a CFC, or have issued a CFC for the extension of the driveway on the left side of that wall that was built.
Yeah.
That you can see from the causeway, you know. I don't know, it kind of brings up the point of segmentation of projects, and that you probably should be evaluating it as a whole, because it really is all one site. And yeah, the sites now will be extremely built out, to say the least. I just maybe wondering, Greg, is there any opportunity for some kind of infiltration, like treatment on the site at all?
So I mean, the patio area, that's all pervious with crushed stone under it, so that we're reducing, any sort of runoff in that location. We provided a detail on that, added that to the plan. Other than that, the roof area with the additions is very minor in nature. It didn't appear to trigger a stormwater permit or anything additional to that, and it discharges to land subject to coastal storm flowage, which typically you don't need to mitigate rates or volumes, because we're discharging to a salt marsh. As part of the driveway project, that wall was built to help stabilize the bank there, and and it wasn't a paved driveway that was built; it was a gravel and a shell driveway that was put down. So he has tried to minimize hardscaped surfaces, and where he has done them, like the patio, he's done them with a pervious material. So I feel like we have addressed that.
Just a couple more things. One is, it did get a DEP number with no comments. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. It's more in the 50 and a lot in the 100. Sometimes you get, some kind of mitigation plantings for this kind of build out, or stormwater treatment. But anyways, those would be my comments, Frank.
Frank, we can't hear you.
I got it. Anybody in the audience want to put their hand up to this? Okay. So Greg, I know we had a hearing on this before, and they put the retaining wall and some planting. So where's the driveway? Does it run down that left side?
It does. It runs down the left side to to the retaining wall.
Okay, so the patio's being built in the middle of the driveway?
Correct.
Okay, and what's the surface on the existing driveway?
It's a shell in gravel.
Okay. So is there a garage under there, or is it just,
I don't believe that there is, no.
Is the paver on
Hold on one sec. Let me just double check that.
that pervious paver may be pervious just so they're not triggering the stormwater bylaw potentially?
There is a garage door under there, Frank. It
okay,
is at that lower level. So,
okay. So they're trying to create some sort of hard surface in front of the garage,
Correct.
is what it looks like to me.
Correct.
All right.
So as proposed here, it's an 11% increase in impervious surface, and even with the paver patio area, if that was considered impervious, it still would not trigger a stormwater permit because it would be less than 25%.
Could I ask one question, Frank?
Sure.
Frank? Greg,
Yes.
I know they did the retaining wall. What actually is behind the house on that bank that goes down into the marsh?
I believe it's just grasses.
Could we put some plants there, Amy? Along the back?
On the back side, it's, you can see there's a pretty good slope down into
I
the
know, yeah,
marsh.
yeah.
So I'm not sure what that would do, honestly. I think maybe,
Well, keep the slope from moving at some point in time. I don't know. I was just thinking, where they did put the retaining wall in at the end of the driveway, maybe just rows of goza out at the back there.
yeah, that's a good idea, Penny, is maybe they could evaluate for, that back area for invasives or something like that. I'm not sure. That's why I was kind of going down the stormwater improvement route, because is such a tight area that's so built out that I'm just
Completely built
kind of
up.
at a loss as to where you're going to improve.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a good for offsite mitigation, and I hate to use those terms, but I don't know. I still, want to reinforce the segmentation comment that you would really consider these as one. Although I do get that Morse is pitching it that the gravel shell, is not a solid surface, but on the other hand, it's not terribly pervious either. So anyways, just.
Well, there isn't much left to build out on this piece of property, that's for sure. Okay.
Did I already ask, do we have anybody in the audience? I think I did ask that.
You did, yeah.
Okay. So Greg, I do think that this coupled with the other project that they did before maybe warrants a little bit more mitigation than we might consider for a project this size. Because if you sort of look at them together, there's more. And I do think that possibly some plantings. I think we asked that question before with the retaining wall piece. I do think there's some positive pieces to what the owners do in the retaining wall is sort of keeping some runoff from going down the hill. The paver parking area might actually absorb as much or more water than the shells, depending on what's underneath the shells. Now you have a base that's over 12 inches thick with crushed stone. Is there any kind of maintenance plan for the pavers? If those joints between those pavers gets filled up and sealed, if all that stone's really ineffective, it's kind of hard to enforce, but what should really be happening is those should be cleaned out so that water gets into that or something like that. I know this is sort of a recommended way. A bunch of the paver companies are all getting on board with making their pavers absorb some water. But if they grout that with something, people get tired of the weeds and then they grout it with a cementous product or something like that, then it becomes ineffective. So I think we need to make sure in the orders that it's clear that those have to be kept clear and function. And then maybe some sort of dealing with either invasives or planting out that slope with something that could be habitat is a reasonable request, I think.
I do too.
Yeah, we did include on the plan a pervious paver operation and maintenance, saying how the cracks would be cleaned, et cetera. So that could certainly that's on the plan that would be incorporated into your order of conditions. I'm certainly willing to talk with the applicant and revisit doing some additional plantings along the bank over there, or see if there's anything else that we can offer up for mitigation. If you would continue me for 3 weeks, we would be glad to come back and discuss that further.
Okay, that'd be great. Anybody else? And if you have some conversation with them and you want to entertain it, shoot us an email or speak to Amy or something so we can have that dialogue ahead of time.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay,
you.
so will we continuing to the 21st?
Yes.
I make a motion, we continue 4 Cliff Estates to December 21st.
And that's Penny. Do we have a second?
Second, Doug?
Doug. All in favor? Richard?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Penny?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
Frank? Yes. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we're on to RDA's 150 First Parish Road. Is this a continuance? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, this was the fence in the backyard. Okay, do we have the applicant on?
Yeah, it looks like we do. Yeah, and I was just going to say, Frank, so the way it was left off on this one is that we are going to take a closer look at what was going on out at the site and try to see if we could move it along under the RDA process or not. And so I think that, I've had a chance to take a closer look at it, although unfortunately not meet with the applicant on site. But I think that we have a handle on what's going on as far as the fence being there. And it also looks like some other landscape work is underway. So I don't know if you want to talk to the applicant about just what's going on out there now, or if people want to go around and just say their thoughts. Because we don't need to represent the site, I don't think.
Right. Okay, thanks, Amy. Yeah, I did not get a chance to go to the site, but my understanding is that the fence that they were asking for permission for is actually already there. And there's been some cleanup, which is getting rid of debris and stuff that the applicant told us about. But we just want to make sure that the wetlands doesn't become a more manicured area. So, and we do want to keep this moving this evening. Let's go to the members. Richard, do you want to, did anybody have a chance to go to this site?
I went by it. I did a drive-by, and I was a little dismayed, I guess would be my word, that we had such a long conversation about the ways this might be handled, only to find out after the fact that it's already been done. And seemed like we wasted a lot of time 2 weeks ago or whenever it was. So that dismayed me a little bit. And I think that's unfortunate, because if we're going to move it along, that means we really aren't going to have the full discussion, I don't think, that it needs, because I don't think it's appropriate the way it's done.
Okay, well, I'm not suggesting that we move it along. We want to handle this. Remember, this is an RDA, and you have the option of making a positive determination, which then means that the applicant has to file a notice of intent to do this project.
Yep.
So it's not a foregone piece. If the commission members feel that this is a project that warrants an NOI, this is the process to get to it. So
No, I understand. I'm just saying I was a bit dismayed. And we were talking like it hadn't been done 2 weeks ago. And I'm not sure it was done the best way. So that's it for the moment.
okay, Doug, you're a recluse yourself, correct?
Yes.
Okay, Penny.
I'm not, yeah, no, it isn't an RDA. Definitely a notice if they want to come back as a notice, but I'm just very, very upset with that fence. The buffer, the wetlands, they're there for a purpose. Not for you to landscape the way you want and put fences in.
Okay, well, I'm not saying that it has to be a notice of intent, but I'm just saying this is,
Well, I can't approve this, no. Personally, that's my feeling. The fence should come out. Don't belong there. It belongs where it should be, and let the rest go natural the way it's supposed to.
okay. Jen?
I don't necessarily have anything new to add, but I would say my comments are closer to Rich in terms of sentiment. Just disappointed.
Tired of being disappointed.
Is Andy still out? Okay, Brendan?
Yeah, again, I don't think I have anything really new to add. Besides, just that it's already been done is yeah, unfortunate.
It's unfortunate for her. Take it out.
Thanks, Penny. Amy?
Yeah. So that's what it looks like to me too. Is that the fence is already up, and that possibly additional work is occurring, but I'm not clear on that. I think what is clear though is that before this owner purchased the site, that the former owner had this delineation done because there was,
Question.
similar concerns about encroachment into the resource area going on. So they wanted to establish where the boundaries were. And when you have a house that was built, a long time ago, as we've seen in these other septic systems that we just heard earlier, I mean, sometimes things get a lot closer to the resource boundary than we like them to be. So with, houses built after 1986 and with the current Wetlands Protection Act and Scituate bylaw, we do like to keep things as much out of the 50 as we can. Here, there's, I'd say that there definitely, at least to the big oak, there was some disturb area, but as you get closer, back in there to the stone wall, I mean, you're in the resource area itself. And so, you definitely don't want to see anything in there. And as far as like wildlife movement and the fence, I don't think that the fence that's up has been put up is going to achieve that goal. I think that's one of the reasons why the fence was in the back of the house as shown on this plan. I don't know. I mean, as far as like in how to move this forward. So like Frank said, I think you could do a positive, which would push it into a notice of intent. And then we could, we'd end up with an order, or you could go straight to a restoration order, something like that. So more like friendly enforcement type manner to get things going. Get a wetland scientist involved, by the applicant to see what the appropriate restoration is. Those would be things to consider.
I guess we would like to hear from the applicant.
Now we're on. Hello? Can you hear us?
Yes.
My name's Jack. I came in to see you personally 4 or 5 weeks ago, and she had already been in 3 weeks prior to that. It's a temporary fence. If you guys went out and saw it, you can see that it's a temporary plastic fence. And we're trying to mitigate the problem she has now. She just got a puppy, a little puppy, 2 months ago, and the place is coyotes there. I believe there's a member of the board there that can affirm that. There's coyotes out there for a long time. Now, we were talking prior to us doing this. Now, we had to mitigate, and as you well know, just about all of the legislation is done by the insurance companies, and what I was saying, and what I had talked to you people before, is we wanted to just go not have the 50-foot buffer. We just wanted to put the permanent fence when it comes. It's still going to be one that you can't see. There's still going to be vegetation growing around it. But if you would have noticed in the back of that green line, there were a bunch of old bottles. Now, this guy used to own some sort of liquor place. And I personally watched this lady for the last 6 months clean up dump loads of that. And the place was such a mess. She's done a great job vegetating that. Now the deers are coming, and the deer are eating their vegetation, and the coyotes are there. And after watching this meeting, and I just watched 2 additions being approved inside that 50-foot buffer zone additions, we're just got a temporary fence there. So I do take it, a little bit. She tried. A lot of people around here put up fences without notifying anybody, as you well know. She's been in there for 2 months trying to get the problem solved. And that's all she wants, and she's cleaned it up. She's done a great job with it. And we just want to know if you'll just waive that buffer zone and just let us go on that, waive that 50-foot buffer and just let us go out to where that tree is.
First off, can you give us your name, please? I'm not sure who was speaking.
My name is Jack Keefe.
Thank you, Jack. I did meet you at Town Hall, I think, one day.
About 5 years ago, yes.
Yep. So the commission looks at all projects separately. I think a few of the things that were just approved were actually septic systems where people have to replace their septic system. They're required to do it, and they do it as much as they can outside of the buffer area. Some people don't have that ability to get that far away. The other one that we just looked at, if you heard, we did not approve that project. And what we asked for was mitigation if they want to do something like that. So they're going to do more plantings and more improvements in the buffer area if they want to do those additional things around the house. So that's kind of what we look at here. An RDA is a simplified form of an application. So an applicant doesn't have to go through a longer, more difficult process. And it's usually done for simple projects. If the applicant, if Aaron wanted to come in and say, geez, I found a lot of trash and things in the buffer area, or I want to clean that up. I want to take out some invasive plants, maybe plant some additional plantings that would improve the habitat. The commission could take a look at that. Also, if we're talking about a fence somewhere in the buffer area, that's fine for an RDA. But this property, for whatever reason, and I don't recall, was before the commission before, and a wetland line was established by the prior owner for whatever reason. So it's pretty known where the wetlands line is. And I think what I'm saying is that we want to look at this and say, if we're going to allow for encroachment, we also want to see some improvements. And part of it is removing the trash and cleaning all that up. I'm not going to disagree with that, and we appreciate it. But typically when people work in the wetlands, they get approval before they do that, so that the commission has an opportunity to talk to the folks about what they're going to do. And in this case, a lot of the work's already been done. So I think that there's a way to look at this without getting it overly complicated. But I think that maybe some sort of thing has to be established as to what's gone on inside the wetlands, if anything needs to be replaced or replicated. And then is there a place that's appropriate for a more permanent fence? But it wasn't clear to the members at the last meeting that the fence was already installed. And I think that's the part that you heard from the other members.
And may I point this out, though? If your roof is leaking over the weekend, you don't have to wait until somebody approves it for you to get up there and mitigate the leak. You know, and the fact is, she's had an ongoing problem. She hasn't, I mean, the way you were talking about it made it sound like she did something superfluous that wasn't.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It wasn't put in with, concrete and all that. So yes.
We went down, but we've been going there for 2 months. She's got coyotes in her yard. I mean, she's not allowed to keep people out of there. I get it that the back end of that fence is where, there's no doubt about that. Right now it's temporary, but at the same time, the fence on the side, all of that needed to be put in. So the only issue is the rear end of the property. You guys have been out there. You've seen what she's done. I mean, do we have to have another visit out there?
I haven't been to the site to see what's going on there, and we have a lot of different projects going on. This is one of many that the commission's looking at, and for the commission, all the commission members to go to each site all the time is probably unrealistic. So we're going to do the best we can to work through that. I would say you've heard the comments from the members. I would suggest that you come back with a new proposal that you really want to do there. If it's a permanent fence that you're looking to install, I would come back with a new plan under this RDA. We don't want to keep continuing this. We'd like to get it wrapped up as well, but why don't you come back with a plan and a proposal for what you'd like to do? You've heard the sentiment of the different members. Why don't you put something together that you think that is permittable, and we'll work with it. And we'll consider it, and the members can take a look at it. You're muted.
We have
Aaron.
it on now too.
Yeah, Aaron, you're muted.
There, now, well, it just the other members made it sound like we were doing something sneaky. And the fact is that we made 4 or 5 trips to that town hall trying to do this. Now, had I been told an RDA back then when I talked to you, we wouldn't have wasted these 5 weeks.
I don't think there's a waste of fight. Please, excuse. We've had enough. We've given this enough time tonight. You filed an RDA, and we're happy to let you refile that, or not even refile it. Just modify your application to show what you'd like to do now. I don't think that's unreasonable at all.
That's not. But that's why I just asked you a question. Are we going to have another visit? Because I'd like to be here for that one. That's all.
All right, let's.
Well, I think that we can give direction based on the plan on what we think is approvable. In which, to be fair, we gave that direction last meeting. So if we can talk about moving the fence closer to the house, out of the resource area, I think that that's something that might be approvable under the RDA. Anything more than that, I think, is probably going to be a positive. It's going to be more consistent with a positive, because you can't work in the resource area itself and have it be a buffer disturbance. So that would be, we'd have to issue positive determination there. And we could skip that and just go right to what we would approve. Maybe that's the easiest for everybody, honestly.
Could I ask one last question? Would you consider any replication?
That should all be part of it. So put something together, and see if it's something that if I were you, I'd put together a plan of what you'd like to do, and submit it to the office so we can take a look at it. All right.
Okay.
In the meantime, we can continue this to when?
21st or the 7th?
7th of January.
20 or the
January.
Pardon me?
It's not next week. It either the 21st or the meeting after. And can I just ask that any markups you use the plan that we've attached, that we've provided you, but it has the resource areas on it so that we can see where it is.
Do you understand that?
I do.
Okay.
But the ultimate goal, obviously, is that it would be nice to have that 300-year-old tree or whatever it is make it in. So if we could replicate and kind of square it off back there.
We can't discuss this tonight. We've got too many other hearings. So put together what you think about it, whether replication and whatever, and get it to us as soon as possible, and we'll try to give you some feedback.
Sure.
All right.
Also, in the meantime, don't do more work. You know what I mean? Like, don't dig the hole deeper.
What hole? What hole are you talking
Or do more work.
about?
Right, so when do we continue this to, Amy? When do you continue it to, Amy?
Why don't we continue it to December 21st?
I make a motion, we continue the RDA 151st Parish to December 21st.
I won't be available.
You won't be available? Then we'll go to January.
Well, we obviously have plenty of time anyway, because if I'm putting a real fence in, the ground's going to be frozen, so it'll be the spring no matter what.
Right.
Whatever time for you is good. You know, whatever.
So January 7th? It's January 6th. All right.
Okay, I make a motion, we continue 151st Parish to January 6th.
Richard, second.
Okay, all in favor? Richard,
Yes.
Doug? Oh, you can't. Penny,
Yes,
Jen,
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Andy?
Andy's not there.
I'm here now, but I'll abstain from this vote. Since I just
Okay. And Frank, yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So now we're on to 16 Barry's Lane, right?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, 138 Stockbridge. On November 30th, 2020, during this 5:15 meeting at Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Joe LaBreche for a determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and Scituate Wetlands Bylaw for activities related to an after-the-fact shed on property at 138 Stockbridge Road, Scituate, Mass. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Sorry. The applicant on?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, Frank.
Good evening.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm great.
So you want to fill us in on what's going on?
Sure. So I'm trying to build, or I started to build a shed at the back, where you can see there in the corner of the property, about 15 feet away from the, I guess it's the conservation 50-foot line.
Mhm.
Not knowing that I needed to file this thing, I guess, to be able to build the shed within 100 feet. So I guess that's why I'm here. And you can see that the shed itself, the 10 by 14 has been sort of drawn into the existing plan there that Jen sent over to me. So it's already up. It's not done. You know, by the time I knew about this, when I got the notice from you guys, it was already, I already had walls up. So I've only kind of got a roof on it, and I'm kind of pausing there to wait to talk to you guys. So that's about it.
Okay, thank you. We'll just run this through. And this, now I'm familiar with this. This is the house that was across from Pierce's Lane, so I got it. Sorry, it took me a second. Richard?
I'd just like to know a little of the specifics of the shed. I see it's 10 by 14. Is it raised? Is it on cinder blocks? Is it on posts? That sort of thing.
Joe, do you want to answer that? You're muted. Joe, can you hear that?
Way to go.
Sorry, it wasn't letting me unmute. I'm sorry. So it's on cinder blocks, and it's at the same it's at ground level on cinder blocks.
Okay. Richard, anything else?
Good for now.
Okay. Doug?
No, that was the same question I had.
Okay. Penny?
And it's a grass area, Joe?
Yeah, it's right on the lawn there. Yeah, in the corner.
So it's out of the 50. Okay.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yep, thank you.
All out of the 50.
Jen?
Sorry, I was muted. So 10 by 14 on cinder blocks, is this intended to be like a, what comes to mind is that expression, the she shed? Is it intended to just be like for gardening stuff? Is there electrical? Or are you trying to put a home office? Just trying to understand it.
It's just a storage shed for lawn equipment and stuff like that, just to move it out of my garage.
Is there electrical running out to it?
I've a conduit running out to it for a potential future electrical, but nothing in there now.
Okay, so we would probably, Frank, is that something that would be reflected on the plan as like additional disturbance, or?
Well, it depends on how they put the conduit in. It should probably be marked on the plan, but that can be done pretty simply. I mean, it's not like, as opposed to a big excavation or something where we'd want to have some erosion control. I would say a conduit wouldn't come into that category, but it probably should be on the plan. Okay.
And I can't remember, did we put conservation markers out back, Joe, or are there?
Yeah, they're there.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see them.
The posts, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're there.
Okay. Okay. Any other thoughts?
No, I'm good for now.
Okay. Andy
I'm all good.
and Brendan.
Oh, I'm fine.
Okay. Amy.
Amy's fine. Joe, thanks for bringing this in to us as an after the fact.
Yeah. My apologies, I didn't do it before. I didn't know. It was on the lawn, so I figured it was in my yard. So
Yeah, I know. Our rules are sometimes confusing for sure. But and so this is for the members that weren't here, this is a pretty recently built house, so the boundaries are clear, and the CFC was, in perpetuity to maintain this 50-foot. So it's good to know that the shed's outside the 50, and I do think that it meets the requirements of a negative finding.
Okay, thank you. So, Joe, and I think you're aware of it by now. People purchase a developer, whatever, purchase a piece of property. They come before the board. They get the conditioned and approval, and they understand the buffers and all that, and it's supposed to be passed along. And then someone else buys the property, maybe another contractor, like in your case, they put up a house and they sell it, and the owner doesn't really understand what their constraints are. And it's happening fairly frequently in a lot of these tighter sites. I mean, some of the earlier hearings, these houses were built when they were right on top of the wetland. And folks are trying to work around their backyard or something and come up against this. So it's the commission's way of trying to protect that buffer area, and we do allow activities obviously within the 100, or your house wouldn't be there. But when they get built like that, we're also just trying to do our best to protect the buffer. So
No, I understand now. Yeah, this was the first time I saw this drawing, and I didn't know my house was basically within the 100. I didn't know about the 100 feet, so it was kind of shocking to me to see it. So.
sure. And those are town bylaws. The state has different, you can Google a state setbacks and they're different, but the town of Scituate has a set of bylaws, and this was approved under the Scituate bylaws. So that's how that works. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Great. So can I get a motion?
Make a motion for a -3.
I have a second.
Second, Doug.
Doug. All in favor? Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Jen,
Yep.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan. Okay, that's it. The next, was it Barry's Landing? On November 30th, 2020, during the 5:15 meeting at Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Gail Mahan for a determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands Bylaw for activities related to a building and an addition and garage at property known as 16 Barry's Landing, Scituate, Mass. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information, access virtual meetings available on the website. And then we have Morse Engineering.
Good evening.
Good evening, Greg.
For the record, again, Greg Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering, representing the property owner, Gail Meehan. This is an RDA for an addition to her home located at 16 Barry's Landing. You can see on the screen here, Barry's Landing is the cul-de-sac at the bottom right corner of the screen. The property line is shown in black. Centrally located on the lot is the existing house. The wetlands that we're talking about are the North River, which is located on the left-hand side of the screen. Off of the North River itself, highlighted in blue is the edge of the salt marsh. In red is a 50-foot buffer zone. In green is a 100-foot buffer zone. And then in magenta would be the limits of the 200-foot riverfront area associated with the North River. The proposal here is to construct on the west side of the house, which is on the top side of the house if you're looking at it. In addition, it's an elevated addition constructed on sonotubes. Extending off of that addition is a porch that would extend over to a new garage. All of that work is located outside of the 100-foot buffer and outside of the 200-foot riverfront area. We've taken all of the roof area associated with that and directed it into subsurface dry wells. The additional impervious area with the driveway connecting to the proposed garage is directed into an infiltration trench. We have erosion controls set along the 200-foot riverfront area to prevent any encroachment into your resource area. I feel that it is suitable for a negative determination because we are not proposing any work inside the 100-foot buffer to the salt marsh, nor within the 200-foot riverfront area. The work here is also located in the North River corridor. I would add that the North River Commission has approved this project. I turn it over to you.
Okay. Before we go into that, I just realized the next hearing, I have to recluse myself. Can I send this notice to Richard or if I send this in an email, I can just do it with my phone. Richard, can I email this to you?
Sure.
You can open it somewhere and be able to read that?
Yep.
All right, I'll just see. I got him. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you. Go ahead. Greg, sorry. Greg.
That was That was the conclusion of my presentation.
All right. Thank you. Richard, you have any questions?
No, I think given the circumstances and outside of the 200 foot, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Doug?
My question is more procedural, and that is, he's here in front of us because that addition falls within the Tideland Conservation District. Is that why we're?
No, so the Tideland Conservation District is a zoning district.
Yeah.
We filed with you an RDA because we're proposing work along the North River. We expect that it would be seen, and that you would be getting a phone
Okay,
call.
I didn't realize we had jurisdiction beyond the 100. So within the 300-foot corridor, the Concom has jurisdiction as well as the North River South Commission.
You have jurisdiction out to the 200-foot setback. The North River Commission has out to the 300. The North River Commission
It looks to me like you're just outside of the 200.
Yes, we are.
So why are you here?
So why are you here?
For you
Greg?
to confirm that you don't need a permit.
Well, no, I mean, it was one of the ways to get the stormwater in front of conservation. So we are the issuing authority for the stormwater permit, which, Greg, did you go into that in much detail, the stormwater portion of this whole thing?
No, I'm glad to talk about stormwater more. I believe that was already administratively approved, though, was it not?
Well, it hasn't been issued, but the peer review on it was waived because I'm administratively approving it, but it doesn't mean that we're not still talking about it and potentially conditioning it,
Okay,
sure. It's complicated. This I don't really like doing it this way. Like, I kind of feel like the stormwater review should have gone to Karen.
Okay, so this.
And someday, like, we rewrite the bylaw or the regs, it will go to her. But yeah, so that's why it's here, really.
Okay, okay. So now, my confusion wasn't unfounded then. I thought Greg was just being super nice, giving us his plan to look at. So, yeah, but I don't have any questions about the mitigation for the roof runoff either. I mean, it's all up in, it's well away from a resource area. So I have no other questions.
Okay. Penny?
Nope, I'm all set. Thank you.
Maybe, just before we go any further, Amy, maybe you just want to clarify that a little bit more, just so everybody understands what they should be asking.
Well, yeah, so I mean, the request for determination of applicability would be a yes or no if this has got impacts on the Wetlands Protection Act, on the interests of the act. And since it's largely out of our jurisdiction or ever so slightly in, the answer would be no. So it's going to be a negative finding. But then in addition, Scituate has a stormwater bylaw, which is triggered if you go over certain thresholds, of which this triggered the increase in percentage. So they also filed a stormwater for a stormwater permit, which is appropriate to do. But they also, I mean, given the site and its location and what they've proposed for infiltration, and I think just a professional judgment on whether the impacts of this project would, impact the neighbors and the resource areas or what have you, it looks like you can probably approve it without an extensive peer review, which some of the tighter, smaller sites, I mean, we go into these peer reviews because we want to make sure that the increase of impervious isn't going to create havoc on the neighbors and anything else. But this is a big open site, so I think that administrative approval is okay.
Okay, thank you. I should have done that in the beginning. Jen?
I'm good.
Okay. Andy?
I'm good.
Brendan?
Good, thanks.
Want to go back to any of you others with the additional enlightenment? Okay, do we, anybody in the audience want to put a hand up for this one? Been quiet out there. Okay, I would concur with Amy on that and don't see the need for anything. We've had this property in front of us before, I think, haven't we?
I'm not
I-
sure.
Yeah, I brought forth the direct abutting property last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just issued a C of C for this property but that was for an older project next door.
And is there anything that we need to update with our orders or anything that would be beneficial to the commission if we're approving something like this? I mean, would there be any plus side? I realize that the conflict going back and forth between planning or the commission, but since it's in our court, is there anything that's changed since we conditioned this project that we'd want to see the owners do differently? I remember we had some discussion before about lawn treatments and stuff like that. Is that still all hold on these?
Yeah, so Frank, what we'll do in this case, which is the first time we've handled this way since I've been here. So we'll do a negative, well, if you should vote it, we'll do a negative determination, and then separately we'll do a stormwater permit. And it'll be the, standard permit, which is believe it's a recordable instrument. And it will append an O&M plan to make sure that there's maintenance of the infiltrators, but it's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
It's like a 1 or 2 page, type of thing. So.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, I'd take a motion.
I make a motion for a -3.
Do I have a second?
Second, Doug?
Doug. All in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan.
Yes.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
So then the Bulrush Farm, I have to recluse myself because I'm involved in this project. So Richard, did you get what I said?
I'm good. I'm ready to go.
Great. Okay, I'm passing you the baton.
On November 30th, 2020, during their 5:15 meeting at the Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Ann McSweeney for a determination of the applicability of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands Bylaw for activities related to building an addition at property known as 17 Bulrush Farm Road, Scituate, Mass. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website. And do we have Brad Holmes on board?
I saw him earlier.
Here.
There you are.
Good evening,
Brad.
members of the commission.
How are you, Brad?
Mute.
Hey, Brad.
Thank you. Good evening. We've submitted an RDA application for 17 Bulrush Farm Road. The property contains a single-family home. We're looking to do a improvement project with a small addition. Moving from the northerly property line south, there's a large marsh system associated with the Musquashka Brook to the north. There's a salt marsh and bordering vegetative wetland that's been delineated, and you can see the line that sets the 50 and 100-foot buffer zones. There's also the coastal flood zone, land subject to coastal storm flowage, which is further down towards the bordering vegetative wetland. What we're looking to do is to construct an addition on the west corner of the house. It's a small addition, just a little bit inside the 100-foot buffer zone. There's a proposed porch at that corner of the proposed work that's within the 100-foot buffer zone. I don't know if you have the proposed conditions plan, do you? It shows the addition on that corner.
I do.
Thanks. The addition and porch will be constructed on piles. There'll be concrete piles, so there won't be a significant amount of excavation to put the addition in. The location currently exists as maintained lawn with a little bit of a brush line, and it's about 85 feet away from the bordering vegetative wetland. We'll install erosion controls around the area to protect the work zone, and pretty simple project because we're so far away from the BVW, and we already have a open area that allows for the work. So I think that's enough on my end, and open up for your question.
Thanks, Brad. Now let's mix it up a little bit just to foul Frank up in the future. Jen?
Keep us on our toes.
There you go.
I don't think I have any questions. I think I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Andy?
Yeah, I think I'm okay now.
Brendan?
I'm okay.
Doug?
Brad, the screen porch is straddling an existing stone retaining wall. Is that stone retaining wall in part going to be removed, or is it actually going to straddle over the top of that?
Well, it will have, some of the stones will have to be moved in that corner. If you see the image in the RDA application, the base of the house is kind of at level with that stone wall. So we'll have to move some of those stones in that footprint in order to put the concrete piles in. So there will be some alignment of the stone retaining wall.
Okay, so that stone wall in the picture.
See my,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
in the project narrative.
Those are basically, oh, I didn't read the narrative because of shame on me. But those are, look, they're actually elevated. They're basically stacked, aren't they?
Almost like a small stone revetment, in the lawn area. It's
Yeah, I see that. Okay. No, it on the plan view, it looks much larger than, and my only thought around that was how much earth was going to be disturbed during the removal of the stones, and whether or not like we should have like maybe a silt sock or something there. But you look at the pictures, it's much more minimal than what I was imagining in my head. So yeah, I get that. So that will be basically rebuilt,
correct.
relocated that part. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. All right, thanks, Brad.
Penny?
Okay, Brad,
Yes.
is there a screen porch there now, a small one? My plan shows a small screen porch and then proposed addition with screen porch.
No, the screen porch is proposed off the corner along with a proposed addition. The proposed addition is almost, there's this, probably 7/8 of it is probably outside the 100-foot buffer zone. That's the proposed addition. And then
Okay,
there's a
so
screen
there
porch.
is an addition, and then it's the small area is the screen porch.
Correct.
Okay, I just got confused there. Okay, thank you.
Amy, any comments on this?
Here I am, sorry.
There you are.
Yeah, sorry about that. No, seems like a pretty straightforward project to me. Existing lawn, looks like it meets the requirements of a negative finding.
Is there anyone in the audience that we need to let in on this one?
Seeing none.
Seeing
Okay,
none,
I make a motion for a -3.
I think I'll ask for a motion. Penny?
I make a motion for a -3.
Do I have a second?
Second, Doug.
Doug, second. All right, all those in favor, Penny,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
Richard, yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
You're back on, Frank.
Richard, you make it look so easy.
I got the easy one. What do you want me to say?
I do like the idea of switching it up, though. I think your point's well made. We should move it around a little bit. The first guy's always stuck with the worst, so maybe we'll do that in the future.
Good.
That, we're gonna have to start making Brendan go first.
I know.
Come on. No, really?
Yeah.
We don't do that either.
Give the new guys a break. It takes a while.
No, let them have their say for a while.
Listen,
They make us look good.
it took me 2 years to understand what the heck I was talking about.
And you assume you do now?
Well, sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. Okay, I'm going to remember you, Richard. I like your wife. I'm going to have a...
He's pretty brave when he's on the whole.
Yeah, I know. I'll have a little chat with Linda. Okay.
Keep Linda out of it.
There we go. Great. Anybody else? What else do we want to hit
The
here?
minutes. Minutes. Would you like to do those, Frank?
Would you like to do those, Penny?
I sure would. I'd
There you
like
go.
to make a motion to approve, accept the minutes of 10/19, 2020 and 11/2 of 2020 as written.
Okay, well, that's a motion, and we have a second. Brendan?
I second.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brendan. That was a tough one.
Wow.
All in favor?
I
Oh, yeah, you got to go back to that. Sorry, now you've really thrown me off. Richard?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Penny?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
Frank, yes. Great. Okay. What else, Penny?
Liaison reports from anybody?
Pretty quiet out there.
Anybody have anything to say?
We have
Correspondence?
a meeting next week.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. And then the next week I have CPC. Okay.
All right. I think if that's it, I still haven't broke anywhere near Richard's record of a short meeting. But
Can I ask a question?
Jen, do you something else you want to? Go ahead, Penny.
I just wanted to ask, the lady on First Parish Road, she keeps talking about the coyotes in her yard. Well, I have coyotes in my yard every night. I mean, I don't think that's fair of her to throw that out. And I have a dog. And we all have coyotes in our yard.
It's true.
And I think she should know. That's part of living in Scituate.
Well, I think people do get concerned, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And I don't think
Don't let your dog out after dark.
Well,
The coyote comes right up past the slider.
they're
We
pretty
wave
brazen.
for it as it goes by.
Well, if they're gonna come into your yard, they're gonna come in anybody's. So
You better believe it. They walk right on the walkway and go on their way.
They
Come
are,
back later.
they are
Well-
even in Humrock.
that's
Yeah,
true.
The rest of us, I'm sure we all have coyotes. I don't know. Maybe you don't, Frank, but I have.
But I think
Every
what
night.
my personal feeling is what you're finding is a lot of people are at home. They're doing more things in their property,
Yeah.
and in trying to restore some order in their lives. That messy part of the backyard
That's
looks
fine. Clean it up.
encouraging, but we have to remind them of the importance of a wetland, and hopefully we can.
The animals have to have some place to go.
You're
That's
right.
all I can say.
But that's just kind of keep it all in mind.
Well, it's all part of life, you know.
Yep.
We've taken all their woods, so now they're in our yards. Okay, that's all. Do you want a motion to adjourn?
Corridors, you know.
Say that again, Amy.
They like to follow the corridors of the streams.
Right.
You know?
Sure they do, and that's a perfect one back there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll do our best.
Oh,
And Amy, thanks very much for hanging in there tonight. I know you weren't feeling great, so Thanks for keeping the ball rolling. Appreciate it. Okay, take
I
a
make
motion to close.
To adjourn.
I'm a second.
Second,
Richard,
Yep.
all in favor? Richard, yes. Doug,
Having fun.
we should stay on for a little while longer.
Yes.
Here, Doug.
Close.
Jen,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan, yes.
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much.
stay well, everybody.
Have a nice evening. Thanks again.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.